Good evening. Welcome to the September 5th, I'm a day behind, September 5th board meeting of the Yakima Public Schools Board of Directors. A few little business items before we begin. We have interpretation services from Jorge with Language Connection. If you are in person tonight and need translation services, we have translation devices you can use. Please check in with Barb to receive a device, and Jorge will translate what I just said.
El sistema lo tenemos disponible si alguien necesita la asistencia de un intérprete.
Gracias. Gracias por tu ayuda. Next up, we have before that, a couple more business items. We do have live streaming for this meeting. You can find the link on our webpage under Find It Fast and look for Board of Directors. There are two options for public comment. The first option is for comment on agenda items only, and the second option toward the end of the meeting is for any other topic. There are two things to sign if you would like to speak tonight, a sign-in form itself and a guidelines form, and those are available at the table in the front, and you can turn those in. Barb can help you with that as well. If you are interested in past meetings, you can find a link on our webpage to the YSD YouTube channel to view past meetings that were recorded and posted there. Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett?
Here.
Director Navarro Jr.?
Here.
Director Rice? Here. Vice President Villanueva?
Here.
And President Walker?
Here. Also, a couple of other announcements. There's one change to the agenda, and we need a quick motion to remove the financial update was inadvertently added to our agenda this evening. Normally, we have a financial report each month, except for August. So the August or year-end financial report information takes 6 to 8 weeks to prepare and finalize, and will be presented later this school year. Also, just a quick little announcement, there are cookies back on the table in the back here from Imagine Learning, who is one of our partners. Thank you, Lucas, from Imagine Learning. Help yourself if you have a need for hunger to get through the meeting. Or you just want part of a cookie, too. Okay. Next up, we have our Pledge of Allegiance. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, we'll do the land acknowledgement when we do that motion. Next up, we have our Yakima land acknowledgement.
Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation.
The people of the Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres.
Across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grand, Kittitas, Cliticat, and Yakima counties.
Today we honor the Native people who are tied to the land through history, legends, and cultures.
We acknowledge their descendants who live in the world today.
We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial.
An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect.
Any step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture.
It also honors the truth.
As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation.
Thank you, students. We have some recognitions this evening, but one other little business item. In order to remove an item from the agenda, we do need to have a motion. Do I have a motion to remove the financial update from tonight's agenda?
I move that we remove the financial statement from tonight's agenda for the reason that was identified previously.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, Barb, call the roll, please.
Director Beckett,
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva,
Aye.
President Walker.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Now, one of the fun parts of our meetings are recognitions of accomplishments of people in our district, sometimes teachers, sometimes students. And first up, we'd like to recognize a teacher. Martha, I believe you have that announcement.
I'm delighted to be able to, first of all, I lost the screen. Sorry, let me get that right back. I'll read it from here. I'm delighted tonight to be able to introduce to you Suzanne Walker, a CTE teacher at Eisenhower, who was selected as the recipient of the 2023 Community Service Award, which was presented at the 2023 Washington State Community Service Award celebration at the Washington, I'm assuming, Association of Career and Technical Educators. Is that right? Summer conference in Spokane. Suzanne has been an advisor for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, or FCCLA, which is a career and technical student organization, or CTSO, for 23 years. Washington ACTE Community Service Award recognizes individuals who have used CTE to make significant impact on their community and demonstrated leadership in programs and activities that promote student involvement in community service. Congratulations, Suzanne Walker.
Well, thank you, everyone. This is my second time back because I won my section last year. I'm going to compete for Area 5, which if I win, I get to go to Hawaii. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But really, the award is not for me. As I told you last year, I only accepted it for the Yakima School District and the students, because I don't know if you guys know, we have the best students here. I really believe it. I work super hard. But they allow me to do things that I get to do, and then I have a very supportive administration team and colleagues. And anyway, so it might say my name on it, but I really accept it for you guys, you know, because I want us to know that Yakima is a cool district to work for. So thank you.
And please come around and congratulations. I know. Somewhere way back we're related. Next up, we'd like to recognize our National Board Certified Teachers. The Yakima School District is proud to announce that 5 more teachers have now earned certification from the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. To earn this honor, these teachers went through an often grueling year-long introspective process, which included creating a portfolio of work to document their performance in the classroom and a series of challenging tests to measure their knowledge in the subjects they teach. Congratulations to those teachers. That's a very huge accomplishment to garner that award. First up, we have Sarah Chase from Barge Lincoln Elementary. Next, we have Elizabeth Gronewald, Davis High School. We have Scott Goranson, also from Davis High School. Brian Jones from Robertson Elementary. And last, but certainly not least, Crystal Manjares Delgado, Barge Lincoln Elementary. Next up, Director Navarro will be recognizing students who participated in TSA Nationals.
Yes, thank you. It's my pleasure to help to recognize a TSA Nationals competition that was held in Louisville, Kentucky, June 27th through July 3rd, 2023. Every year, the Yakima School District is represented very well by very highly qualified students at the state level, local level, state level, and nationally. So I'm just proud to be able to recognize these following students. So TSA, which is Technical Student Association, mission is to inspire its student members to prepare for careers in a technology-driven economy and culture. With that, placing third for TSA Digital Photography from Franklin Middle School, Lucy Sullivan. Yes. For TSA Structural Engineering, second place from Franklin Middle School, Todd Pham. And also TSA Structural Engineering, second place, Franklin Middle School, Joshua Whitney. And finally, I'd just like to congratulate all the parents, and especially those that are here today. It's awesome really to see the parental support and that they're showing, demonstrating today, but probably all of last year, and they'll continue to do so the upcoming year. And we'll expect probably these students to be back next year, so congratulations.
Next up, Director Beckett will be introducing students who have won FCCLA National Awards and Skills USA National Awards.
The Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America is a student-run organization that helps young men and women become leaders and address important personal, family, work, and societal issues through family and consumer sciences education. The FCCLA STAR events were held, the National Leadership Conference was held in Denver, July 1st through 7th. And we are proud to congratulate the Family and Consumer Sciences and Commercial Arts STAR event second place in the nation for the Chapter Service Project Display, Nathalie Martinez of Eisenhower High School. Well done. And also with the Family and Consumer Sciences and Commercial Arts STAR event, second place in the nation for the Chapter Service Project Display, we have Bethany Carter from Eisenhower High School. Congratulations. An individual competitor in the STAR event professional presentation, 7th place in the nation for the Chapter Service Project Display, Annabelle Betts from Eisenhower High School. Skills USA provides the opportunity to learn leadership and citizenship skills through participation in worthwhile educational, vocational, civic, recreational, and social activities. The Skills USA Nationals competition was held in Atlanta, Georgia, June 19 through 23. In technical computer applications, computer technician, 8th place goes to Antonio Rivera of YV Tech. And to echo Director Navarro, we congratulate all of our students and their teachers, advisors, and the parental support. Thank you all. Congratulations.
Excuse me, Mr. President, I forgot a name off my list. Can I go back and correct that? Sure. So with any of our students, there's always a great teacher that's supporting them, teaching them, guiding them, getting them, from the start line to these championships and the second place and third place and so forth. So I'd like to recognize the following advisor, Jeff McFadden. If you're here today, I'd love for you to come up. He couldn't make it? Okay. Okay, no problem. But we did want to recognize him because we know it's a lot of hard work and effort that he puts into his students. So congratulations to Jeff.
And since wise minds have pointed things out, I should also mention that our FCCLA advisor is Suzanne Walker. Congratulations again. And our Skills USA advisor is Ken Parrish. Thank you, and congratulations.
That concludes our recognitions for the evening. We'll take a short break in the agenda right here. If you want to take a few more pictures, family members, please grab a cookie. And then you're welcome to leave if you have other things to do. If you want to stay for our highly engaging meeting, you can welcome to stay for our meeting. Thank you. We'll now resume our meeting. A famous movie director once said, 70% of success is showing up. And I think our proclamation addresses that issue.
It's my privilege to read the Attendance Awareness Month proclamation, September 2023. Whereas good attendance is essential to student achievement and career and college success, and we are committed to dedicating our resources and attention to increasing regular attendance with a focus starting as early as pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. Whereas regular attendance, attending 90% or more of the school year and missing less than 2 days of school a month, is a proven predictor of academic and social success well-being. Whereas improving attendance and reducing systemic barriers to attendance takes leadership, collaboration, and evidence-based approaches that build on the strengths of our community. Whereas regular attendance in PK to 2 predicts 3rd grade reading proficiency, 6 to 12 course passage, and 9th grade success, college and career readiness, and it strengthens our community and our local economy. Now therefore be it resolved, as the Yakima School District Board of Directors, we proclaim that the Yakima School District stands with the nation in recognizing September as Attendance Awareness Month, and be it further resolved that we hereby commit to focusing on improving attendance to give all children an equitable opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive academically, emotionally, and socially. Dated this 5th day of September 2023, Yakima School District Board of Directors.
Thank you, Director Villanueva. I believe Dr. Green, would you like to introduce, we have 2 board reports, one for Goal 4 and one for Goal 5. Would you like to introduce those presenters?
I would ask that Dr. Rodriguez present the opening for Goal 4, and then I'll do Goal 5 once we reset.
Thank you, Superintendent Green. Ooh, they're extra loud tonight. Board President Walker, members of the board, it's my privilege to introduce Maria Lucero, who is our new Executive Director of Principal Leadership and Accountability. It is her first board report in her new role, so I know you will be nice to her. And she is here to present on Goal 4. She, in addition to being a principal supervisor, is overseeing all of our multilingual programs, including dual language. So she is well prepared to share information and answer questions on Goal 4 this evening.
There we go. Good evening. Thank you, Superintendent Green, President Walker, and the rest of the board for the opportunity to present the ends report for Goal 4. You have had the opportunity to review the full slide deck. I'm going to go through 5 slides, and then you'll have the opportunity to ask questions at the end. So Goal 4, bilingual, biliterate by graduation. All students will have the opportunity to become culturally competent, academically successful, and prepared for the global job market in 2 or more languages. Our interpretation of this goal, all students means all students, no exceptions. Becoming culturally competent, academically successful, and prepared for the global job market in 2 or more languages is measured through implementation of the elementary dual language program, enrollment and success in world language courses in middle school, and attainment of the seal of biliteracy prior to high school graduation. This goal is assessed using district-level data on program access, course enrollments, course grades, and the stamp assessment for the Seal of Biliteracy. And we are currently making progress. Starting with our elementary dual language implementation, with the 2026 commitment of having at least 75% of pre-K-5 schools that will have access to a two-way dual language program. Currently, we have 10 out of 14 pre-K-5 schools, or 71%, who have access to a two-way dual language program. You can see cohorts, the schools in cohorts 1, 2, and 3 are currently implementing, and we are on track to meet our goal and 2 years early. So skipping through the data that you have had access to preview, some of the opportunities that we've identified for Goal 4, students enrolled in world languages has decreased. Overall enrollment in world languages in 8th grade is low. Disparities in percentages of 8th grade students enrolled in world languages exist in all program categories. Notably, English language learners participated at 9% compared to non-English language learners at 27%. On-time graduation for Native American and white students decreased, and a disparity of 29% in earning the Seal of Biliteracy for students with different abilities. Some of the highlights for Goal 4. We are on pace to reach the dual language program goal 2 years early, which would be in the fall of 2024. Of 8th graders enrolled in world language courses, the percentage of Native American, African American, 2 or more races, and white students earning credit increased. Of 8th graders enrolled in world language courses, the percentage of students earning credit increased in all program categories except students with different abilities. We had a 100% on-time graduation that was maintained for Asian students. 82% on-time graduation was maintained for migrant students. On-time graduation increased for African American and 2 or more races students. We had an increase in earning Seal of Biliteracy for African American, Hispanic, Latinx, 2 or more races, and white. And there was an increase in earning Seal of Biliteracy in all program categories. And we will continue to work to make progress in Goal 4 through our YSD key strategies. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the board or comments?
I have a question. Maria, congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
You know, one of the first things that you have to do in your new position is present to the board, right? You did a fine job.
Thank you.
I have a question about the decrease in participation in world languages at the middle school level. Do you have a sense for the reason behind that? Is it related to the issue we went through in the last 3 years, or is there something else?
Part of it, and I can certainly get more information, but in talking to one of the principals, there has been a need to close the gap. So an increase in courses such as Read 180, which then limits the opportunity to access the world language course, but that is an area that I will be working with middle school principals to address.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also have a couple questions and some comments. First, I echo Director Rice's comments. Congratulations on your new job, and you did a great job presenting. I have some questions on the opportunity slide. Can you walk through how the opportunities identified are used in developing programming or strategies to address some of these areas in the next school year?
We're really digging in more deeply into the data and finding out what were the results, what directly impacted the results that we're seeing, and the potential for growing that capacity in other schools where we might not see that same trend across the system.
Awesome. And I'll just wrap up by saying an overall thank you to you and the district and the efforts around Goal 4, bilingual, biliterate by graduation, and certainly to the community who we heard from loud and clear during our strategic planning process that this was a very important goal. And the posters and the way we branded the program, I think, is really meaningful. And I've shared this story before, but when my dad first came to the United States and was enrolled in school, he was placed in special ed programming because he didn't speak English. That was the only deficiency identified at that time, and it was really frowned upon. All of my uncles and aunts will say they really discouraged from speaking Spanish in school and really honoring their culture and language in that way. So I just really am proud of the work that the district has done and that you've done around the programming that we have and the way we've branded it and really encouraging pride in this skill. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. All students means all students, no exceptions, is a very lofty goal, a commendable goal. And I notice, of course, on our opportunity slide, the disparity of 29% in earning the seal of biliteracy for students with different abilities. So I'm just curious if you can talk a little bit about what the future of that looks like to see how we progress, how we move forward and make better progress in that area.
Well, I think an initial step would certainly be in working with our executive director of SES, who would be Nancy Smith, and really just digging in and looking at students who are both eligible for the seal of biliteracy or who have access or could have access, and who also have different abilities to see how we could work together to hone in on this particular subgroup.
Yes, I just can you clarify? I'm looking at, I'm not sure what number, dual language implementation. And I'm trying to figure out the commitment. It says that 75% of PK through 5 schools will have access. So I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe this is for the board. Maybe we should say 75% of students should have access. So I don't know, just something. So because that leads to my question is that how many, is it safe to say that when we hit the goal, we're 2 years ahead of the goal right now, right? Are we saying that in all 10 or 14 schools, all the grades PK through 5 are dual language?
But they will have access in the schools as outlined in the table.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at cohort 4, yes, we would have 23-24 Gilbert and Robertson, and then 24-25 at Nob Hill and Roosevelt.
So I guess my question is, will all the schools PK through 5 be dual language? So that's kind of what I'm trying to understand. Will all kids have access to this, and are all the schools currently, all the grades and classrooms and grades within each school dual language?
We've rolled the program out very intentionally to ensure that teachers receive the support needed, because this is a different way of running your classroom and involves a lot of additional skills, honestly. And so we start with kindergarten. So when you look at that slide, cohort 1 started with just kindergarten students in the first year in 21-22. Last year, they served kinder and first grade, and you can see in that third row, it says currently serving kinder through second grade. Cohort 2 started a year later, so they're currently serving kinder and first, and then our cohort 3 just came on board. So it won't be all grade levels in the next year, but it will be 75% of the schools offering the program starting at kinder. It actually takes 6 years to get it all the way from kinder to 5th grade.
Okay, I guess I'm still not, I don't know if I got my answer, so.
Can I clarify?
Sure.
I think the goal states that 75% of the schools will
Yes.
offer it, but it does not say 75% of the students. So for example, in kindergarten,
I understand that, but
Okay.
I guess I just have a question about just additional information to help me understand.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand what the goals are and the benchmarks and the commitment and so forth. So my question is, I mean, we've completed, as you indicated, kindergarten first and second. So are all kindergarten first and second grade classes that have dual language, are they all dual language classes?
Not every kindergarten
Okay.
classroom at a given elementary is dual language.
all right.
So we still offer an English-only option
Yes.
for
Okay.
families that want to do that.
All right, thank you. That just helps me to understand the date of the report a little bit better. Thank you.
any other questions or comments? I'd just like to make one comment. Thanks also for your report. I was watching the Little League World Series a couple weeks ago, and the nation of Curacao, every elementary student learns 4 languages. So I think 2 is not a huge stretch if we really work at it. And so again, that's just, sometimes we say, oh, that's just too much for kids. Well, maybe not. So again, I think it's an admirable goal. I'd like to see 100% of our graduates have a seal of biliteracy in 1 or at least 2 languages when they graduate. Not necessarily Spanish, but I think it would be remarkable to have 100% of graduates in our school system have at least 2 languages that they're fluent in.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Maria. Really appreciate your presentation, and it was so nice to see how nice our board can be. I didn't know we had to preface everything with "you needed to be nice." You've always been so nice, so thank you.
Thank you again.
Yeah,
And I think she can handle anything that we can throw at her, so
Absolutely.
there's- without question.
So, members of the board, we will now engage in a presentation given by Dr. Rodriguez. We want you to be nice to her as well. This has to do with END's report Goal 5, which is persistence through graduation and beyond. And I would also call attention to the report itself. As you may recall, we have decoupled the END's reports to then have more access over the course of the year. So we have Goal 4 and Goal 5 today. We're on a condensed timeline to have this completed, all 5 goals. So you'll see Goal number 1, 2, and 3 later this year as identified in our strategic plan. But all will be completed by January, and then we'll have a more elongated process the coming year. This was actually a great idea that came through Dr. Rodriguez in her work with the ENDS report, so I want to call to attention her contribution not only in allowing us the freedom to focus more fully on these different components, but then also in presenting today as well. So without further ado, we'll ask her to go ahead and present on goal number 5, persistence through graduation and beyond.
Thank you, Superintendent Green, Board President Walker, members of the board. It's my pleasure to share with you an update on goal number 5 tonight. Similar to Mrs. Lucero's presentation, we're going to hone in on just a few of the slides, but I'll be happy at the end to answer questions about any section of the report that you may have. As you are aware, Goal 5 is persistence through graduation and beyond, which states that all students will successfully navigate the critical transitions in their schooling and will graduate from high school prepared for college, career, and post-secondary experiences. And you can see some of our very proud class of 2023 graduates in these photos. We define this similar to the last one, that all students means all students, no exceptions. Graduation from high school prepared for college, career, and post-secondary experiences is defined as attainment of the high school diploma. On-time graduation is counted for students who graduate by the conclusion of summer school following the student's senior year or 4th year of high school. And the goal is assessed using state-reported graduation rates. At this time, we've determined that we continue to make progress. This is the overall data for you. So the 2026 commitment is a 95% on-time graduation rate with 100% completion within 6 years. The baseline at the time of the writing of the district strategic plan was 80%, approximately 16 out of 20 students on time, with a remaining 80% of the students who had not graduated on time finishing within 6 years. For the class of 2023, our grad rate was 75.9%. So we are closer to that 15 out of 20 if we're using that baseline data metric. You can see we've also added those students who graduated in a 5th year for the class of 2022 and students who graduated in a 6th year for the class of 2021. And you can see that we continue to really have fairly flat progress in the 4-year rate as we continue to recover after the pandemic. There is slides for you that break out the last 2 years' cohorts, taking a look at various groupings. And then I wanted to just really take a moment to share with you, similarly to the last report, the highlights and the opportunities. We saw really actually some exciting things this last year with graduation. So while the overall rate was down about 3% overall in graduation, we did see decreased disparities in several categories. We decreased the disparity for students in foster care systems from a disparity of 79.5% in the class of 2022 to a disparity of 36%. Of course, we are not satisfied with a disparity of 36%, but to cut that in half in a single year really speaks to the work of our high school principals and their staff in supporting students in foster care to achieve on-time graduation. We also saw a 50% reduction in the disparity for low-income students. And the one that I think my team most celebrated was this third bullet, a decreased disparity for students with different abilities from 36.1% down to just 4%. So we had an increase of 32.1% in on-time graduation for our students served by special education programs. And truly a lot of that goes to the credit of Nancy Smith, who's in the audience. So I want to recognize her and her staff and our many special education teachers throughout the district who have really embraced Nancy's leadership as we're really looking to ensure that all students, including those served under individualized education plans, are achieving on-time graduation because they are capable. Our migrant students continue to graduate at rates above our non-migrant students, so this is also really a celebration for our team, and I want to just recognize Hector Mendez, who wasn't able to be here this evening, but they continue to increase their growth, so they went from a positive, the opposite of a disparity, I guess, from 3.2% above non-migrant students up to 7%, so we doubled that one. And our Asian, African American, and Hispanic Latinx students continue to graduate at higher rates than the district average overall. Opportunities that we've identified in this data is that our American Indian and Alaska Native students graduated at a lower rate in 2023 as compared to 2022. This is a very small population of students. When we looked at the actual numbers, it's actually a difference of 1 child. So we had 7 who did not graduate on time in 2023, and we had 6 who did not graduate on time in 2022. So it's the size or the N of the population. It can swing rather a lot. And disparities increased for our homeless students as compared to our non-homeless students. So our students who are struggling with housing are continuing to really struggle to meet that 4-year deadline of graduation. We also still saw students with 504 plans having disparity, and they went from actually having a positive graduation rate or positive, an anti-disparity, if you will, to having a disparity this year. 504 plans, as a reminder, are health accommodation plans. And as Mrs. Lucero mentioned, we're going to continue to stay focused on our Yakima strategies, and that's how we plan to continue to move the needle. But as you can see, while we have some opportunities, we had a lot actually to celebrate in our overall graduation rates for the class of 2023. With that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board, comments?
Thank you for the report, Jenny. These numbers are quite interesting. I know that during graduation time, I took an opportunity to speak with various high school program principals, and they were excited because their graduation rates were dramatically increased in the two comprehensive high schools over years past. And so that leads me to the question about our alternative programs and what areas of focus or what strategies do we have in place to address the needs of our alternative students? And I know from talking with some of them that they have lives dramatically different than I did when I was growing up. A lot of those students, too, we see in these numbers that we have before us. So what kind of strategies are we employing to kind of assist those students in helping them to meet these goals?
Sure, it's a great question, Board Member Rice. I would want to get, and I'm happy to if you'd like, a breakdown school by school, and we could share that with the board at a later date so you can see what those comparisons look like. That said, our students who are served at both Stanton Academy and Yakima Online often have very challenging life situations, and many of the indicators that you saw where there were disparities mentioned often apply to many of those students. We have new leadership at Stanton this year. We're very excited about our new principal team. Principal Natalie Riley has just taken over at Stanton, and Kevin Brennan is the new assistant principal there. We were able to recruit him from a neighboring district, and they really are rolling up their sleeves and identifying what systems could change to make sure that students are really able to be successful and have more students graduate on time. That said, many students don't start at a school, at any alternative school in our state, in the 9th grade. Often it's a place where students go after they've already experienced difficulty in their first 1, 2, or even 3 years at a comprehensive high school. So the likelihood of many of those students, or really even the capacity for them to complete in 4 years, is drastically reduced, and they often need a 5th and sometimes even a 6th year to complete. And that's really what that program is designed for. They are putting in place some new attendance protocols. I believe you're going to have an attendance report later this evening from Bob No, but I know that our initial attendance at Stanton is significantly higher to start the year than what we've seen previously. And we've also seen, just as you know, a huge increase in our online students. And so just helping folks understand what success looks like in that environment. Sometimes students or families select online because they think perhaps it might be easier or simpler, but all the things in life continue to be there. And so it can be a challenge to, again, complete in 4 years.
Thank you.
Yeah, just another similar kind of question. I'm really pleased to see the decrease in disparity for students with different abilities. But for some of our students with different abilities, isn't it, it's almost we want them longer than 4 years just to achieve the goals on their IEPs, don't we?
Mm-hmm. In some cases, yes. And I think I would share with you, and in regards to the last report as well around the seal of biliteracy, there is a very small percentage of students for whom we would seek to have a 5th or 6th year. They can attend through the age of up to 21. And so for some students, in order to achieve the goals of their IEP, that might be the appropriate placement, and we would want to extend their learning opportunity in that way. That said, the vast majority of students who are served with an individualized education plan are not going to have accommodated rent or differentiated bills, as we like to say. They're going to be expected, and in many cases are capable of being productive members of society. And so we do really want to expect from them what we expect from all of our kids. It really is a very small percentage of students who need that additional time.
Thank you.
Can you help me understand one of the slides on slide 7? It looks like number of on-time graduation by program, and you have data that's listed by class of 2022 program and class of 2022 non-program, and the same for 2023. Can you help me understand the program and non-program? I'm not understanding what's different there.
Okay, stop clicking, Barb, and I will get us there. Yes, that one, thank you. Here we go. We're both driving, so it's like being in driver's ed together. So, okay, so just to acclimate you to these charts, it's important for you to understand how they're set up. So program would be students who are identified for those services or that program. So if we just want to take a look at that first set of 4 bars under English language learner, you can see class of 2022. Those are students who were designated for services in English language development. And then the darker turquoise or blue is students who were not designated for service. And the blues are class of 2022, the yellows are class of 2023. If there was no disparity, we would see 4 bars that go straight across. It wouldn't matter whether a student was in program or not in program, we would see a consistent graduation rate. So what you're seeing there is still a disparity for our English language learners. They are graduating on time in 4 years at a lower percentage, a lower rate, that lower yellow bar, than students who are not served by that program. And so another, just a contrasting example, if you look to the right where it has migrant, you can see that in both of the last 2 years, our migrant students are graduating at a higher rate than our non-migrant students.
Wouldn't the dark blue bar be the same across all groups? If it's, I guess it wouldn't be because it could be different. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the more that we flatten the data, right, if we just look at graduation overall, it is around that 73%, but that's averaging all of these different groups of students.
Okay, that makes sense. And just a final comment, I appreciate certainly all the work it takes to put these presentations and reports together, but particularly appreciate that we're calling out disparities. That's such an important way to look at the data. If you don't look at disparities, if you don't look for disparities, you will never identify that they're there, and you may not identify where there's some extra support that's needed. So I appreciate that you're calling that out and that you're including kind of an overall assessment and an analysis and what you're seeing there. So I appreciate how the data is presented. Thank you.
Yes, I do have a question or two. I know the board has been really focused in terms of graduation rates on race, color, students of color, really. I know a few years ago we were really concerned about graduation rates for students of color. And if you go to slide number 6, and I just need help understanding this to make sure I'm correct, it appears that the disparity with race doesn't exist between let's see, Asian students, African American students, and Hispanic students, and 2 or more students with 2 or more races. Is that correct? Am I seeing that for 2 years we haven't had that disparity?
So there are disparities because not every group is graduating at 100%, but you are correct in terms of if we're comparing students of color to white students, then we actually see that our white students are graduating at a lower rate than some of the groups of students of color. Again, this is like the last one where the kind of blue-green is from 2022 and the yellow is 2023, so you can see what the rate was by group year over year.
Yes.
And so we're seeing an increase in graduation in several of those categories, but not in 2 of them. So there are still disparities when we look at all of these subgroups or subpopulations. What we would want to see, if there was no disparity, we would see again all of the bars would be straight across, like all the yellows would be at exactly the same rate. That would indicate that there's no disparity and that race is no longer a predictor of achievement, which is part of our equity definition.
Okay, so, all right. So it said, also, I noticed that, well, for the last 2 years, that the graduation rate for students of color has been increasing while the scores or the grades for the white students has been decreasing. So I'm just kind of wondering about that. You don't have to answer that this time, but I just kind of wonder about that. And then also the Native American student percentage dropped significantly. And I know those are lower numbers that we're looking at. So, it's just interesting to see the data there and how it's changing. And this hasn't been the case for a number of years, and it's awesome to see that. I see the disparities, the gaps closing. I don't know if we'll get to 100%. That's our goal, but I don't think I've ever seen 100%, and then we see it now with the Asian students, right? But for me, it's great to see that while we may have disparities, those are closing significantly, and that's something that the board is really focused on, and I think the district, and I think that's also a highlight that should be also mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Thanks, Dr. Rodriguez. Next up, we have 2 housing grant applicant reports. Anytime there's a major housing project that affects sometimes the population of a school district, and I believe part of the grant procedure for those grants, they're required to make these public presentations. So first up, from the Office of Rural Farmwork Housing, we have Joel Mendoza. Welcome.
Now you're hot. Don't say anything inappropriate. My name is Joel Mendoza. I'm a housing developer with the Office of Rural and Farm Worker Housing, representing our partnership with Next Step Housing. Next Step Housing is a nonprofit, multifamily affordable housing developer with 7 properties for a total of 238 units in Yakima, Washington. All of Next Step Housing's properties are operated as alcohol and drug-free communities. Next Step Housing built Pear Tree Place 2, located at 2902 Powerhouse Road in 2009. Through a memorandum of understanding with the DDA, Developmental Disabilities Administration, 16 units are set aside to be operated as state alternative living, SOLA units, state operated living alternatives, for DD, developmental disability residents who can't afford to live in a facility. The other 8 permanent supportive housing units are set aside for homeless families with school-aged children. Okay, entering its 15th year of service, Pear Tree Place 2 we will be applying for a continuum of care through the Department of Commerce. And we would like to offer the opportunity for any community members to share any input or see if they have any questions.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Mendoza? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ashley Kilgore from the Yakima Housing Authority.
Hi, and thank you for having us. I'm here with Executive Director Lowell Kruger, and as the Housing Authority, as you heard, we're applying for the Housing Trust Fund. And within the community, the Yakima Housing Authority has over 500 units in Yakima County, and we operate and manage all of our own units. As we continue to find areas where individuals are not served, we work to make sure that that gap is filled. And in this newest application, we are doing a scattered site development. We're calling it Lewis, Spruce, and 6th, just because those are the addresses that the project is located on. But there are 3 infill sites that are all located within the Yakima School District. Of the 50 units we plan to provide, there will be 18 units that will be for general low-income families that can be within the school district. Most often, those families come from within the district. They're just leaving substandard housing and finding a way to live in affordable apartment complexes that are well-maintained and managed through the Yakima Housing Authority. The other thing that we're excited about is that 13 of the units that will be placed at our Lewis site, which is near Milroy Park, will be set aside for households exiting homelessness, and we'll have project-based vouchers to help them exit that system. And the Yakima Housing Authority has a great education program to help residents that enter our housing become self-sufficient, and will be provided services for those individuals as well. So again, this is just an opportunity for us to reach out, see if there are comments, let you know that we're excited about bringing these opportunities into the community, and make sure there aren't any questions as we move forward.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have updates from board members.
I just have one. The General Assembly is coming up at the end of the month, and I had sent a notice out to each of you on August 17th with a link to the spreadsheet that has all of the proposals listed, and asked that you indicate whether, with a yes or a no, whether I should support that when going to General Assembly or not. I've not received everyone's back. In fact, only 2 have responded. So it was originally on tonight's agenda, but it's now on the agenda for the 18th. If that could be completed before the 17th, that would be really good, and I could report back to you all the results of that spreadsheet review. If you have any questions or need the link again, let me know. I can send it to you.
Thank you. Anybody else have some updates or?
Just a couple of quick things. Had a fascinating presentation at Southwest Rotary today from James Donaldson, who was a Seattle Sonics player in the 80s and has a foundation on mental health and suicide prevention put together, and was speaking on Suicide Prevention Month, and spoke a lot about our youth in general, and about how critical it is for it to be a year-round and everyday conversation. And it was surprisingly an uplifting or encouraging presentation, which you wouldn't normally expect on such a heavy topic, but it was very poignant. It was very well received, and I was just really happy to see that. And I understand that he's connected with groups both Eisenhower and at Davis. I was really excited to hear about that. And had a fantastic tour at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary with Superintendent Green, and got to take a walk through and a tour and have further conversation with their new principal, and see the excitement of, was that day 2? I think we were there. I mean, it was like the second day class was in session.
It was early on, and you saw dual language as well.
Yeah, we did. We saw a dual language classroom and a special education classroom, and the new mini pitch that I know is on the agenda here this evening as well. Fabulous walkthrough. It was nice to see. So thank you for that. Hope to be able to do more of those in the future.
Thank you. Any other reports? I'd like to report on a visit to our Discovery Learning Center a few days ago. I hadn't been there since it had changed from a Discovery Lab school, so it was neat to see our little ones. Really fun class. One of the interesting classrooms I was really encouraged by was a fully integrated classroom that has some students that are on IEPs and students that are not. And you looking at what they're doing in the classroom, you can't tell the difference. So I think that when we do that kind of early inclusion is really powerful for both sets of kids. But it's fun to see what's going on there, and I see the foundation work is being done on the new building, so we can see where that's going in, and work has started on that. So again, it was fun to see teachers interacting with kids and having a good time. see. Dr. Green, Superintendent's update.
Wonderful. Thank you, President Walker. And I would just share with the board that it's not by accident that these two site visitations by Director Beckett and Director Walker, or President Walker, were at buildings where we have new leadership. We certainly strive to get in and make connections right away with those new to the district. And I'm excited at both the leadership that we have at Martin Luther King and at our Early Learning Center. We have some great additions there this year, and I want to thank both of our members, board members, for being able to fit that into their schedule. I'd also just share that I know that Director Navarro mentioned equity, and it really is in the Yakima School District, not just access, but it's defined as having the outcome be achieved as well. And just a reminder that the condition equity for us is the condition that would be achieved if one's group's membership no longer predicted in a statistical sense how one fares. And so we are making some gains in those areas, and we also see that we have some opportunities in front of us. As far as my superintendent update today, I'll share with you a couple of exciting items. I'm really encouraged by the start to our new school year. We had the visitation with Director Beckett at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary. I think we still have Maria here, so kind of some pains here in leaving to her executive director position. It's always difficult leaving that principalship, but kudos to her for the foundation that she put in place at that elementary and the work that has gone into growing and implementing the systems therein. We do have a mini pitch dedication that will take place on September 22nd at 2 p.m. If any of the board members would like to attend, we would love to have you there. We will have representation from the Seattle Sounders and Earthagen. The last time that we did this was at Barge Lincoln Elementary. It was filmed last time and actually shown at the stadium there in Seattle during one of the games in part. So it certainly is a big celebration for the Sounders, the Rave Foundation, and our growing relationship with Earthgen. So we do have now two new mini pitch fields there ready to be dedicated, and we would love to show that off again September 22nd at 2 p.m. Also, we have another event coming up through our Yakima School Foundation, and that is Hoptemberfest, formerly Hoptoberfest, but it's happening in September, so Hoptemberfest. You have a link in board docs for a ticket if you would like to attend. That is September 9th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Yakima Valley Pippins Baseball Stadium. Wonderful event to attend and to show support and hopefully contribute to a wonderful foundation that provides so many opportunities for our students and obviously our teachers as well. I think last year there was over $46,000 in grants given to teachers in our district through the foundation. An update on the Davis Auditorium project. We are at a state right now where we continue to make progress, albeit slow progress. It would be wonderful to take those who are interested back in to probably have a second look or first look in some cases. We are delayed. We were hoping again for an opening here in August, and we're already in September, so I think we've just modeled that hope is not a strategy. So we will continue to work with our construction partners, and I do not have a date for the board at this time. So I am so confident that I am not giving you a date so that we can hopefully continue to work with them and see if we can get to the point where we can hopefully celebrate that in the not so distant future. But I will tell you that what is done currently looks very nice. It's going to be quite a jewel for not only the district but for the community. So it's wonderful to see how close we are in the progress, but also then knowing that several factors outside of our control continue to cause delays, certainly from everything from what are they called, the chain of supply chain issues that continue to plague us since the pandemic, and on to other components that continue to cause delays. Any questions at this time? I know I mentioned the Davis Auditorium, eyes perked up. I don't know if I can answer anything, but if you have a question about that at this time. or have interest, we can certainly reach out and make an appointment, schedule a time for us to go back on a visitation.
I'm certainly interested in any upcoming visitation.
Okay, great. We will send out an invitation and make that available, so we'll get a date on the books. Thank you, President Walker. I do have, I've requested an attendance update, and I thought it would be very interesting for the board to just have a quick assessment of what school has looked like as far as attendance from August 22nd to September 1st. So I have asked Bob, I'll actually pass this over to Bob No. Bob has expanded his portfolio this year, so the legal counsel was not enough, and he's now connected with our student services, and just excited about the different opportunities outside of the legal parameters to continue to grow. We all know that we're lifelong learners in education, and it's a wonderful thing to see him now involved in a different capacity.
Thank you. So President Walker and board, as you know, the Student Services provides a myriad of services to our students and families. And then this year, they've taken on the additional area of responsibility, which is attendance. And tonight, the Director of Student Services, Casey Mitchell, is here to present information on the attendance that Superintendent Green just mentioned. Thank you.
Well, everyone gets nervous when I step up to the mic, so I do appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and I appreciate the smiles at my joke, even though it was bad. We have been given the opportunity to take lead role in student attendance, and you know, Omar, my boss has a saying, student services is small but mighty. We are small but mighty, and we expect great things to come from our leadership with student attendance. I was told by Barb I had 3 minutes. I think I'm almost there. So if you look, though, and I think that this has perhaps been provided to you, you will see the last 2 weeks, first 2 weeks of school, our daily attendance counts. These come out of the Skyward system, and they're based on attendance by period. So, you know, how many periods students are attending. And so you can see, if you think about goal number 2, it's 95% of our students will attend 95% of the time. We're off to a good start as you look. You see great numbers. One that I would highlight again is Stanton. You'll see that although 74%, if you've spent time looking at their numbers in the past, you'll see that that is an increase from the past. So we're excited about that. The overall attendance level, though, is at 92%. So we are nearing our goal for the first couple of weeks, and we're proud to be able to present this information to you. So I'd be willing to take any questions. Attendance has come to our department just in the last couple of weeks. So if I can't answer it tonight, I will answer it quickly for you. So.
Any questions for Casey?
I may be missing it, but I'm not seeing the chart here, so could we get it and
Mitchell, oh my goodness.
No.
I'm sorry.
Can we pop that into board docs, please? Okay.
That's my fault. I apologize. I did. All right. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Casey, and thank Omar. Really appreciate the work that's happening, and look forward to keeping that elevated in that 90th percentile and beyond in order to achieve that 95% goal. Couple more components, and one, I will have Kirsten Fitter will come up here in just a few moments to talk about our new pack, and then also the posters that we have in front of you today. But before, I would like to have Dr. Rodriguez talk a little bit about the 21st Century Grant via the ESD. You all do have handouts, and we are just thrilled about the work that has happened with Dr. Rodriguez and her department in conjunction with the ESD and what it means for our students moving forward. So I would love to steal her thunder, but I will instead pass it to her because the credit does go to our teaching and learning department. Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Credit really is due to our partners at the ESD 105 and our talented principals who answer the call when we say, would you like to apply for another grant? to extend programs throughout our system. So you do have a one-page document that just reviews for you what the 21st Century Community Learning Center's program is. This has been a program in place in our state for a number of years at this point, and we've had the privilege of having 6 of our schools served previously. We've continued to apply every time that the grant is offered as a partner to ESD 105. They're the primary agency on that grant, but there's a lot of data and information that needs to come from our building principals and our staff to really have a competitive application. And we're excited to announce that of the 5 programs in the state of Washington that received funding for this year, Yakima was one of the 5. It is an extremely competitive grant program in our state, and so we're excited to be able to offer 21st century programming for our students at Garfield Elementary, Hoover Elementary, and also Lewis and Clark Middle School beginning this year. It is renewable for up to 5 years, so you'll see in your handout the other schools that we have and where they are at in that 5-year continuum. Primarily, this is for after-school programming for students. It provides 2 hours of programming for students 4 to 5 days a week. There are also a number of family engagement activities that occur to support families in how they can help their students achieve academically and instructionally, as well as increase their social emotional learning skills in partnership with the school and ESD staff. So we couldn't be more pleased to be able to add 3 additional schools and have 9 school sites to serve students with this program this year. And a huge thank you again to our principals who partnered, Steve Brownlow at Garfield, Julio at Hoover, and Vicki Fogelson at Lewis and Clark. And Mike Klausner has been really our primary partner at ESD 105, so I just want to publicly thank him for his work on this as well.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez, and we'll finalize the superintendent update this evening with Kirsten Fitter and sharing our promotion about our bilingual, biliterate by graduation, as well as our new parent advisory committee. Kirsten.
Thank you, Dr. Green. I asked for the ability to do an update sometime before October and just asked for that a few minutes ago, so I appreciate the mic so quickly. I wanted to take the opportunity to point out some marketing materials that we worked with our dual language program. I heard a couple of you mention them already, and we have more than what you even see here tonight. So you will start to see these around the community if you haven't already. You might have noticed a lot of bulletin boards that have the same marketing messages throughout our community, as well as each school will have their own banner, which you can see behind a couple of our board members here to my left. Each school has a designed dual language banner. And then there are posters, and the posters that are in front of you, you might think you have the poster, but there are 8 different children that are featured on these posters. So if you kind of hold them up and show each other, they have different Yakima School District students that are featured on them, and they're all very cute. So loving those. Wanted to give credit to Ana Villaseñor, who is our language access supervisor, for coming up with the tagline, Yo soy bilingüe, and I love it. And then also giving a lot of credit for the next opportunity that I'm going to talk about, which is our Parent Advisory Committee, and that is under the coordination of our Family and Community Engagement Specialists, Anita and Berenice. And they have been working to kind of reinvigorate our Parent Advisory Committee. There are 8 members of our PAC board right now. You might have, I know a few of you did attend the August 5th event that they coordinated, and the next one coming up for all district as a family engagement event will be October 25th. So just wanted to recognize those folks that work hard. They volunteered to be a part of that Parent Advisory Committee, and they meet monthly and put together those events and advise us on providing feedback on different elements of our district. So wanted to give them some thanks.
Thank you, Kirsten. We really appreciate the effort in your leadership and also in your department. I think she did mention bulletin boards, but that was actually the billboards that we do have around Yakima. So I just wanted to clarify that component. That concludes the superintendent update for this evening, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Green? Okay, thank you. Next up, we have calendar updates and future agenda topics. I think you can just open your board docs document. I'm not going to read all those individually, but just take a look at those and look for the opportunities for board members to participate. There are several school tours in there. Get in as many of those as you can. It's always rewarding to see what's going on in the schools and see what kids and teachers are doing. So again, I think is there anything in those that you would like to highlight, Dr. Green?
Just briefly, I would mention that we have the YSD Board Superintendent Events Calendar. So if you were to click that events calendar, it would bring up these dates for the next 2 weeks. So if you see in the bold Superintendent Green tours, those site visitations, it would actually have the times, the availability. And of course, you could always reach out to Barb as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about upcoming events? Okay, and we have struck the monthly financial update from the agenda. We have now arrived at comments from the public on agenda items. Are there any commenters here? None? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Dr. Rodriguez again, and we have approval to pay ESD 105 for summer programming from this past summer.
Thank you, President Walker, members of the board. I am requesting that you grant approval to pay ESD 105 for our elementary summer program costs. This includes staffing costs for teachers, paraeducators that are hired through ESD 105 to provide that summer program, as well as all of the program materials, the manipulatives, the consumables that students use, and the design of the units of study for each grade level. The total amount is $1,101,164. These are funds that came as a result of the ESSER programs. So these are all funds that were extra funds to ensure that we could provide additional extended year and other opportunities for students to attend. Students were selected for the program based on academic data and identification by their building to attend the program. And we will have a more in-depth report on summer programming for all levels, including this program that ESD offered this last summer, from Executive Director Hector Mendez at our next board meeting that was already scheduled. Happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Rodriguez? I have one, which would be, in the future, given that these were ESSER funds that purchased that summer school programming for this summer, we're not going to have those in the future. What are our plans for summer programming in the long term?
Well, it is September, Board President Walker, so we don't have next summer just rolled out just yet, but we would be looking at offering some programming ourselves within the constraints of our budget for this year.
Okay. And we don't have an idea what that might be for summer school.
We would plan to offer 4-week programming again.
Okay.
The number of sites, students, teachers, paras, transportation that we're able to offer is going to be directly dependent on the budget we have available to support that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I just have one question. Are there entities that offer grant money for summer programs, like through OSPI or the Department of Ed or somebody?
Yeah, there's grants available for all kinds of things. Certainly, we apply for a lot of them, as you heard, like with the 21st Century. It supports after-school and summer programming for those designated sites. So we know that we will have 21st Century programs at those 9 locations this summer, guaranteed as part of that grant. Seeking additional grants would just be dependent on what's available and whether we would qualify for that funding.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I realize that we have a report coming, so I'm excited about that, but I just wanted to mention some questions that I had in regards to summer school. That way they can be included in that report, hopefully.
Okay.
So I was just interested in the number of students that participate in summer school. Anything about student growth, because they talked about some intensive reading strategies and project-based type of activities as well. So did they show any increases in reading levels? And I'm just really interested in what is project-based learning, right? What that entailed. So I guess I'm just looking at, what were the results or the impact of summer school on students, and closing that summer slide or the summer loss that we've had a lot of discussions about, right, in regards to the calendar. So I think the board has always saw summer school as one of the major approaches to closing that summer loss or slide. So just wanted to make mention of my inquiry into the summer school. Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to some of those questions being answered as well. Okay, we do need to entertain a motion to approve paying the bill for this summer. So do I hear a motion?
Mr. President, I move that the board grants approval to pay ESD 105 for the 2023 elementary summer program in the amount of $1,101,164.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this payment. Any other further discussion or questions? Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett?
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.?
Aye.
Director Rice?
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva?
Aye.
President Walker?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next up, we have approval to renew the contract with Kindergarten Partners, and again, presented by Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. This time, we are seeking approval to renew our contract with Kinderhofen Partners LLC for this school year. Kinderhofen provides nursing services to support our students with special needs. It is nursing services that are called out explicitly in their individualized education plan, and by law, we are required to provide them. This year, we are seeking approval to renew that contract in an amount not to exceed $910,000. As you know, we continue to struggle to find qualified and available staff in the areas of nursing, speech language, pathology, and other high needs areas. So we do need to continue to contract for some of these services going into this school year.
Thank you. Any questions?
I know that over the past year or so, we've seen motions for approval come before us that have kind of increased that, bumped that up a little bit, and then there's another one that comes. And is this amount the amount that we anticipate, that we are not going to have to see too many of those little bump ups?
We certainly hope so. And it is dependent on whether we are able to fill any additional needs that arise. Our hope would still be that we could fill some of those positions. It is early in the school year, so if we're able to recruit some additional nurses to our Yakima School District staff, that would reduce the need for contract services and hopefully allow us to actually pay out less than the cap on the contract that we're requesting this evening.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, do I hear a motion?
I move that the Board of Directors grant approval to renew the contract with Kinderhofen Partners LLC for the 23-24 school year in the amount not to exceed $910,000 to provide nursing services to support students with special needs.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to support this purchase. Any other questions or comments? Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett?
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.?
Aye.
Director Rice?
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva?
Aye.
President Walker?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And my computer's doing funny things. Okay, next step.
Second opportunity.
Yes, Mike. There we go. Second opportunity for comments from the public.
None at this time.
None at this time. Thank you. Next up, we have approval of Board Policy 1000.4.0 and 1000.4.1. Both of those were reviewed earlier. Survey monkeys were done. They both came back with 100% compliance from 100% of the board. I would hopefully just entertain a motion to approve those policies. I think we could include them in one motion and just approve both policies in one motion. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board approve the monitoring report and policy for 1000.4.0 and 1000.4.1.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve policies 1000.4.0 and 4.1. Any questions or discussion? Barb, call the roll, please.
Director Beckett?
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.?
Aye.
Director Rice?
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva?
Aye.
President Walker?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, and I believe there's no need for executive session. I'd just like to make one more comment that occurred to me as listening to the discussion tonight when we're talking about legislative action, we're talking about needs for special education services. One of the things that struck me when I was visiting the Learning Center was walking into a classroom with 3 students and 4 adults. And that is so typical of high-needs special education students. The cost of serving those students is incredible. And you have nurses and occupational therapists and all the needs. So again, it's incumbent upon us to keep working on our legislature to be more responsible for our needs, to keep supporting our upcoming levy when it comes. It's just, it's amazing the cost and the expense it is to serve those kids and serve them well. So again, thank you for all you do and for all your efforts on their behalf and for all of our students. But it really comes home when you see a classroom that functions in that manner. And functions well, by the way, but it's striking. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board or anything for the good of the order? Thank you so much for being here. Meeting is adjourned.